As knife enthusiasts, it's really easy to get lost in the hype sometimes. But on today's episode of KniFAQ, number 238 of the series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull, we're going to cut through some of that and try to get to some actual practical advice. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the KnifeCenter. Say hi to Thomas behind the camera, as usual.
Particulate filter.
If you're new to this series, Thomas says random words at the beginning because it's funny, I think. And we answer your questions, more importantly, and we get those questions from the comments section under these videos. So if you have a question, be sure to drop it below. First question today comes from Gabaroo9099. I love the UK penknife series from Spyderco, and I'm thinking of getting one for our trip to London next year. I've not carried any knife in London on past trips, but would like to, as I'm always needing a cutter when out and about. Just debating whether to get Magnacut or the Spy 27 model. Well, here's the good news. I'll throw a third option in here as well, the LC200N model. In this sort of scenario, price is not a difference. All of these are the same price on the site right now, 93 bucks and some change at the moment. For that, you're getting a 3-inch non-locking blade that still has some safety to it. And these were designed to comply with UK knife laws. You can have up to a 3-inch knife, it just can't be locking. So these are the options. From what you're describing, it sounds like a short vacation, relatively shorter trip. Any of these steels, Magnacut, Spy 27, or LC200N, are going to be just fine. The edge retention on these is plenty to get you through a trip, and if you're worried about any of them, you can always bring a strap, mini travel strap or something like that. Instead, the hype train, the knife nerd, like apex knife bro, whatever thing attitude would say, go for the Magnacut. It's the most interesting steel here. Probably it's the most in demand steel, certainly, because it is highly tough, highly stain resistant, and holds an edge really well too. But in this case, you're going to a very knife unfriendly locale. So the more you can do to avoid unwanted attention when it comes to your knife, the better. So practically speaking, would you really want to be carrying either of these two knife handles with you? I don't think so. That's just going to draw unwanted attention. For this, practically speaking, I would go with the Spy 27 model. The subtle blue color here is very subtle. Ding ding, surprise, surprise. It's less tactical than a black-handled knife. It doesn't shout and scream from across the room. And the steel is very good. Go with that. Happy, and they sharpen quite easily. Actually, Spy 27 responds really well to stropping as well. So, hey, if you got a leather wallet, you got all you need right there. I would go with that. Have fun on your trip. Next question comes from Eddie Castellana, one of the above. I enjoy your content and value your opinions on many of my unnecessary purchases.
Sorry.
I was looking into a deboning knife and I've considered 3 options. The Benchmade Meat Crafter in CPM 154. There's actually 2 very different versions of those. We'll get to that. The 7-inch Water Series in Magnacut. That would be the Fish Crafter here. And Microtech's new Kitchen Series in M390 MK. Here you go. The price is pushing me toward the Microtech, but I'm unable to handle these blades in any single store to get a feel for flexibility and comfort. I would value any opinion you might have on this topic. And thank you to DCA and Thomas for all the incredible videos. All right, Microtech here. Price on this knife is about 160 bucks. 6¼ inch blade. M390 MK steel. And orange G10 in this case, but a few different colors are available. I will say M390 and M390 MK are not the toughest steels in the market. If you're looking for something that can survive, aggressive hits on bone as you're deboning stuff, the CPM 154 or Magnacut of the other knives might suit you better. But I'm actually going to ignore the steel side of this equation for just a minute anyway. You've also got this version of the CPM 154 meat crafter coming in at 200. CPM 154 has toughness. You got a little bit of flex to this. Not a whole lot, but some. Compared to the Microtech, you've got virtually no flex. Like it's not heat treated for flexibility. It doesn't feel like. $200 for that. $375 for this version, which with the G10 handles. There's also a Richlight version. Same type of flex here. And then the Fish Crafter with MagnaCut is $240, narrower blade and definitely more flex here. If you're looking for a fillet type of flexibility, full stop. This is the one you got to go with amongst this grouping here. If you don't want that much flexibility, well, we can just ignore that here for just a minute. The toughness thing aside, after all of them are useful designs. Like all of them are going to work pretty well for what you're probably going to need. The biggest factor for a kitchen knife like this is going to be how easy is it to keep clean, especially for a boning style knife that might have the tendency to get even messier and dirtier than some other knives. In that sort of case, with this Benchmade and this Microtech, you've got a lot of seams for bacteria and liquids to get kind of trapped into, whereas the more practical handle in this case would be the injection molded versions right here. Personally, I've been using a version of this meat crafter here in my kitchen quite extensively of late, just because I wanted to. I thought it would be fun to kind of rely on this for most of my kitchen stuff. It's phenomenal. And coming up here at Thanksgiving, it's going to be a great turkey dispatcher. Well, I'm not dispatching a turkey, but
demeter.
A delimmer or a parts opener. There you go.
Bird opener.
There you go. Also, from a practical side of things, if you're wrist deep in juices, this is going to have better grip as well. Last thing you want to do would be to slip forward, which could happen more readily with some of the others. But in terms of ease of keeping clean, the worst offender here would be the riveted version of the meat crafter, just because if it gets in there, there's no way to really clean it out. In the middle, the Microtech right here, because you can at least remove the handle scales here and get everything cleaned up. But easiest by far is going to be the injection molded handle versions of either of these two. And the price is kind of right in the middle for this version of the meat crafter anyway. Yeah, high price is $375 for this one, but yeah, you're going from $160 from the Microtech to about $200 for the Benchmade. I hope that helps. All right, next question comes from Christopher Reg Y20. If you could only carry one knife for a day hike, maybe an overnight trip, out of the following, which one? SE4, Opinel number 8, Swiss Army knife multi-tool, or machete? Well, let's look at your options right here. The number 8 from Opinel, classic ultralight hiking option. Very comfortable, very slicey, very affordable too, about $22 these days. Swiss Army knife, you could certainly go smaller, but my Swiss Army knife of choice when I take one outdoors has long been the Outrider. The blade can do pretty much anything the Opinel blade can do, albeit slightly less laser-like efficiency. But you've also got multiple tools which can help you maintain your gear, and it's more weather resistant too. The SE4, bulletproof but heavier. Certainly viable, especially if this hike turns into more of a survival situation, where it would require you to use this knife more aggressively than you might ever imagine you could use a small knife like this. Survival is what matters in that sort of situation. Or a machete. I'd say a 12-inch machete like this Condor Hmong, considered by some to be pretty much the most universal survival tool out there, but certainly a lot heavier. And anything bigger than 12 inches is certainly going to be overkill for a day, even slightly overnight hike. Even 12 inches might even be too much. Here's what I would do. If it's just a day hike, honestly, I'm going with the Swiss Army knife, in this case, the Outrider, because a day hike for me is not going to involve shelter building or this, any of that other sort of thing. And this can still help you survive, if you need to survive. Just can't use it in quite the same way you would the Essie. You can still baton and split wood with a knife like this. You just do it like this. Make sure it's in the half open position, and then you can like tap through gently like that, if need be. Here's why I like the Outrider though. One, it's got a locking blade. It's got the excellent saw from Victorinox, which is, as far as pocket-sized saws go, pretty darn good. You've also got the can opener and the bottle opener with the screwdriver tips. You've also got, unlike some or most other Swiss Army knives this size, you've got scissors for one thing, and a Phillips screwdriver. Small head, certainly, but a very cool thing. I like that added function, but I really like having scissors around. What are you gonna do? You've got an awl on the back, which is great. You've also got the corkscrew, which is great for holding other things. It's useful for untying knots if you need to. You can also store the little fire starters in there that Victorinox sells. That would be what I would load in it for an outdoorsy trip. That's my day hike option. If it's gonna turn into an overnight, or if that's planned, honestly, my answer would be the same. But I would also throw in a silky saw. You didn't say I couldn't have a saw. So I'm cheating a little bit. I don't care.
You didn't saw that coming.
Because as good as the saw on the Swiss Army knife is, like, the length of something like this Gomboy model right here, the effectiveness of that can't be overstated. And silky saws cut like freaking chainsaws, man. They are my saw of choice. They're awesome. Yeah, check that out. Anyway, now we come to the lightning round for today. First question's from Damien Jr. Hey DCA, how and what lube do you use to maintain your OTF knives? I didn't even pick up an OTF knife here to show. B-roll time, I guess. Honestly, I've never gotten huge into the world of lubricants the way some knife fanatics have. For me, mineral oil has always worked really well. It's cheap, widely available, and food safe, as long as you make sure you buy food safe mineral oil. There are some, I think, that aren't. Don't buy any scented mineral oils. That stuff works awesome. I have recently, however, come to really enjoy Tough Glide. Not because I necessarily think it lubricates better. It may or may not. But it cleans as well. It's got some cleaning agents in it that I have found really, really useful. I've got my knife here, actually, my Maximal, with some tape gunk on it. And we'll film some B-roll after this of showing just how easy it is for this stuff to clean that blade. There, wasn't that nice?
Here's one I prepared earlier.
But yeah, for me, as a practical matter, I've always been pretty agnostic towards my lubricants. I think both of these are good options. The Tough Glide, as far as I'm aware, is not food safe. So if you're using your OTF on food, maybe go for the mineral oil. But are you really going to use the OTF on food? Hey, it's your knife.
Maybe for kebabs. Do
what you want with it. Yeah, I'm not chasing like incremental degrees of better lubrication. I just think both of these work very well for what I have used them for. 79 Istipa. What is your less than 60-second test for using a knife to determine if you like it or not? For me, it's the feel in the hand is the very first thing. Yeah, you can have a knife with great cutting profile, but if I don't like how it feels, okay, fine. Which is part of the reason I've gravitated towards this Meat Crafter earlier. It's got a more light, agile feel than that Microtech does. Again, don't take any of this to, as me saying like dogging the Microtech or anything. It's just personal preference here. Yeah, how does it feel in the hand? And then how well is it cutting at the job I'm trying to do with it? If it feels good and then can cut good, greater love and greater understanding can kind of grow from there. But ultimately, I think if you look at, how well is it cutting and how good does it feel, that's way more practical than, debating steel types or, whether it has some particular feature that might not be essential but is a nice to have or maybe isn't. I mean, how does it feel? Now we come to our finalist question of the day, which is our most seriousest question of the day, which comes from HD Ryder. If I was on a deserted island and had to prepare a Thanksgiving feast with only my knife, what choice would be best? Well, it's got to be an 8-inch chef knife, right? That's the practical answer. Because you can do pretty much anything with this. But in this situation, I would go specifically with the Fillet Blue Whale model. This is the, what is the actual number? The K1. It's about $169, VG10 core laminated blade, convex grind. As we all know, convex is the only practical grind for survival. Hope that helps. Gobble, gobble.
I'm worried what his appetizer plan is on a desert island.
Desert island. Actually, he wrote deserted instead of, it's just the one S.
Dessert can be a verb.
That's true. That's how I figured out how to remember the spelling for dessert versus desert. Desert has sand, 1 S. Dessert has strawberry shortcake, 2 S's.
Sugar, sugar.
But actually, this is, the reason we call them desert islands is not because they're deserts. It's because it's just a shortened form of deserted in this case. Anyway, hope that helps.
They're a reverse oasis.
There you go. That's all we got for today, folks. I hope this was some practical ways of thinking about some of these questions. I hope the answers helped or piqued your brain or whatever it did. I hope it did it. It's the end of the day when we're filming this. Can you tell I'm getting a little tired? Anyway, if you have any questions of your own, please leave them in the comments. That's how we keep the series going. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives below, check out the links in the description below, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next purchase when you buy one of these today. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We are signing off. See you next time.